while sitting around lecturing the rest of us, and the 6 big mega banks are using their regulators to come in and shut down local banks that actually serve the community. Nomi Prins, NomiPrins.com is our guest, best-selling author. She's got a new book coming out in October, Black Tuesday, a novel by Nomi Prins. We'll definitely have her back up for that. She has another article, Ratings Agency Hypocrites, S&P downgrade carries a large dose of irony since the extra debt the U.S. has piled on recently came courtesy of S&P's moronic toxic asset ratings. You could call it moronic, but it did help the banks make trillions of fraudulent dollars and take over society. So is it really moronic, Nomi?
Yeah, that's a good term. It's certainly diabolical and moronic, or some sort of combination. It's the S&P, of course, gets paid by these banks to rate the assets they rate. They get paid by size. They get paid by number of deals. So the more bad assets that banks can manufacture, the more money S&P gets. So they don't get money from the U.S. Treasury Department, which might be why they downgraded them. But the point is, they were definitely a part of this entire scheme. They were like the stamp of approval on, if they were in a car manufacturer situation, they'd be stamping an approval on the cars that have no brakes, and they would say, oh, that's fine. So in that respect, they're definitely a part of this entire scheme in a bad way.
And there's a difference between being cunning and being wise. They're definitely cunning, but they are kind of like the farmer who killed the golden goose. In the 4 minutes we have left, Nomi, I've got 2 questions for you, and I'm going to sit back and give you the floor on these because I really want your perspective. If we don't turn things around and let these people run us into the black hole, what will our future look like, and what do you expect to unfold? Versus what are solutions and ideas you have to extricate ourselves from this emergency?
Well, if we don't turn this around, and it's not looking like Washington at this point has those solutions, and I'll get to those, we are continuing to spiral downward. The assets that were manufactured, the debt that relies on them, not just in the United States, but throughout the globe, can't go away because they are in this situation where banks can cover themselves. They can get central banks to print money. They can act as the go-between and receive debt and get interest on that debt and keep going, because the focus of the central banking system is to allow banks to float as they are. And their stock might go down on any given day, but the bigger banks, because they are so infused in this system, continue to do well and continue to thrive. And don't forget, they can short. They can be on the other side of positions. There's a lot of things that they can do that the average individual can't do. You can't short your life. You can't short your job. Banks can be on either side of a lot of these financial mechanisms, and that's how the bigger ones survive. The more places they are, the more focus and influence they have, the more they survive and thrive. On the flip side of that, the global economy continues to deteriorate because nothing of actual value is being put into it. Trading value, GDP, of which a portion is debt, and the other portion is profits coming off of paper revenues from a banking system or some of the corporations that they sponsor. That's not real productivity. That's not really sustaining an economy. And unless the combination of political leaders and financial banking leaders sees this and actually kind of slaps these banks into place and takes away their ability to infiltrate the financial markets and the whole global economic system in the way that they have, things are going to continue to spiral down. You go back to the crash in 1929, which spawned the first Great Depression. There was a situation then where 6 banks also controlled a lot and got a lot of support from a different kind of a Fed, but certainly from a different form of a government, and were able to survive. The same 6 banks survive today in different forms. That's what we're dealing with, a very small group of very influential banks that are everywhere. That will continue to drive the economy down unless there's something in place on the other side. What can be put in place on the other side? Will to slap them into place for number one. Will to break up the banks. Will to break up their hold. Will to break up the amount of leverage and debt they can create on the back of no value and infiltrate throughout the system. More checks on what types of products they are pushing throughout the global system, an awareness on the part of towns and cities and municipalities and pension funds to not buy things they don't understand, to not create a situation where workers who think that they have a stable nest egg say it basically drop into their retirement because they can't control what's being put into it and how it's being invested. And I think from the get-go, instead of creating all this debt to float the banking system, and what the White House calls economic and technical change debt, that should have been used to really help the job market, to really help people.
Absolutely. Deliver it. Yeah, Bernanke wasn't dropping money out of a helicopter. He was delivering it to the farm bankers. Nomi Prins, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to speaking to you when your book comes out. God bless.